Hi. I would say what day this is, but I've missed so many days that I can't say with absolute certainty where I'm at. I do know it's Friday and it's the 23rd, and that there are 6 days left in Lent. Now, in these last 6 days, what I'm going to try to do is to at least do a minute-long video each time. Things have been very busy on my end, and it's been pretty difficult to get the time to sit down and think about things that are not related to what I'm actually studying. So that's a problem. Basically, what I've been learning it's been very interesting. It's like taking a walk back through my university days without all of the ideological dribble. I mean, of course, everything's going to have an angle, and nothing can be devoid of a kind of overlaying message. Nothing can be without intent. There's always intent and meaning. And the word I'm looking for, what's the word I'm looking for? Not an angle, but gosh, I can't think of the word, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's always a point of view from which you look at information. And even when we try to be objective, we end up sort of laying our own values onto what we learn and understanding it in a way that makes sense to us, in a way we can relate to it. Because the only way that you can remember things is if you can relate to it in some way. Unless you're just memorizing things and then the words become meaningless, and it takes you time and meditation to be able to find the meaning again. Like what I realized happened with me and my prayers. I remembered them even after not saying them for many years, but I don't think that I ever said them with any real meaning behind them or with any real understanding of what the words themselves meant. So, in reading George Orwell, The Politics of the English Language, I started to really look back on everything that I've learned up to this point in my life and realizing that it's all crap. Everything that I've learned is total garbage, making things verbose for no reason. And it makes me really question just scholarly endeavors in general. I mean, even the word endeavor, scholarly pursuits in general. Like, the average person is not going to read something that is intentionally trying to obfuscate meaning or trying to skirt the meaning by sounding more smart than the actual words themselves are, or the thought is. Say the words can be they can be large words, they can be really nice sounding words, but at the end of the day, if your message doesn't get across, then you failed at communication. And that's what I'm starting to learn here, is that the simplest way through is often the most effective. And in our lives, our whole point, the whole purpose of our existence, and I'm not saying that it is the only purpose, but like the whole reason behind existing, once you exist, like because we don't choose to exist, it's just to live well. That's the only job that we really have. See, the only options we have are to live poorly or live well. And if we're going to live well, we need to be effective in whatever we're doing, whether we're pursuing truth, whether we're pursuing money or fame or fortune or celebrity. We need to be effective in order to be successful. So, in the interest of effectiveness, I've decided that with these last 6 days of Lent, I'm going to try to actually think a little more, to think and not to quote other people, but to use other people as a sort of like a foundation for my own thoughts. Like, I'm not just going to completely refer to a scholar's opinion on someone without knowing what that person is actually saying. And if there's any merit to the critique, then I can admit it. But I think that what we're missing right now is critical thinking. And as long as I've been in the academic system, crossing my arms, body language, as long as I've been in the academic system, critical thinking was not the main focus. I actually had to take a course on critical thinking to be introduced to critical thinking. Everything else that I studied was critical theory. And critical theory is wonderful for the man who doesn't want to think, because there's no wrong answers. But there are wrong answers in life, in reality. There are things that are right and there are things that are wrong. And putting on a different lens in order to look at something might help you understand it. But just because you understand it in a certain way does not mean that that is the way that it's meant to be understood. It's the same thing with art. You know, you can look at an abstract painting and you can feel a wide range of emotions, but maybe the person that painted it was just thinking, wouldn't it be fun if I mix these colors together? And you know, I'm just starting to realize that most of the criticism that I read when I was in school, most of the film criticism, and I even took a film and religion course when I was in university, and most of it was just complete nonsense. And it was just sort of a way for people to be able to watch movies and be critical of them without producing anything of value themselves. And I want to make something of value. I want to produce something worth its own, worth the paper that it's written on, worth the screen that it's written on. I don't want anything that I write to be worth less than the instrument or the tool that I use to write it. And in order for that to be the case, then I need to be succinct, I need to be accurate, I need to be concise, I need to be effective, I need to be efficient. And maybe I'm using synonyms and I'm just sort of like saying this as it comes to my head, but definitely I need to be effective and I need to be efficient. And the only way to do that is to get rid of these words that mean nothing, get rid of these words that have nothing to do with what I'm trying to say or what's in my head. You know, and I feel like these talks through these last 30 something days, these talks have been really great for me because I'm finally starting to think on my toes and I'm saying things and maybe they don't make sense, but they're exactly what's in my head in the moment. And I know that I'm watching myself through this screen and you know, of course I'm judging myself, and I think that everyone does when they're watching themselves do anything or when they hear themselves do anything. But at the same time, I can sort of step outside of myself and kind of look at my entire point of view and listen to what I'm actually saying and try to make sense of it, which is good because a lot of the time I rewatch these videos and I realize that there are moments where I'm more clear, moments where I have this sense of clarity, this sense of understanding and connectedness. And then there are moments where I'm so consumed by what I think other people are seeing when they look at me, or consumed by what other people might think of what I'm saying. And when that happens, I stop being myself. And I stop being normal. And I mean, I did talk about it at one point before, like just the act of observing or being observed changes behavior. And that's just a natural thing. You know, it happens. It's just the way that it is. You know, you can't control. If you tried to control the way that you reacted when someone was observing you, then you wouldn't be being normal. You would be forcing yourself to try to be normal, which is a surefire way to not be normal, or to not act normal. In any case, tonight I'm going to rewrite all of my notes from the past week, which I know that sounds really, really tedious and boring, but I love writing. I love writing by hand. I love organizing my thoughts and making sure I suss out the right ones. That's probably the one thing that I miss the most about school is actually taking notes and making things look nice and organizing myself and the whole process of learning something where you are seeing something for the first time. And if you have a good instructor who's excited about the material, they make you excited about it too. And then internalizing it, having a great discussion with some of your classmates, writing things down that make you remember those key points that you touched on it during the discussion, and then looking back on it and getting back into that mindset where you were in the zone. Like, I would just call it the zone. That place where you almost feel like you're soaring above yourself. And I've had this when I've played piano many times, when the muscle memory becomes so flowing and so correct that you could just close your eyes and play, and it almost feels like you're lifting up off of the ground. That feeling is what I feel when I have a good instructor and I'm learning something that interests me and that is useful. So I'm very happy to be here doing this course. I'm really happy that I'm engaging with the material in a positive way. I'm really happy that the people on my course are intelligent adults with no ideological hang-ups, and everyone is getting along very well. I'm so grateful that the organization I work for can attract such a wide range of people and such a wide range of it's such a diverse group. And I don't mean diversity in terms of skin color or background. I mean diversity of thought. There's a lot of people that think completely differently on this course, and we all don't believe the same things. We don't have the same values, but we all get along. Mainly because we're on the same course, but also because instead of focusing on the things that divide us, on the things that make us different, we take everything in with a sort of a grain. I don't even want to say a grain of salt. We take everything in stride. There's no sense in warring over something that has nothing to do with the way that you interact with someone. And as far as communications go, the whole point of it is to have a two-way street of information where things can come in to the marketplace of ideas and things can go out. And if we have an open dialogue, then we can actually decide which ideas are worth keeping and which ones should be expelled, which are good ideas and which are bad ideas. And as long as we keep it in the realm of ideas and don't try to form grand sort of ideologies or sets of ideas that we hold to so strongly that we become blinded to any idea that could be potentially better than the ideas that we have. So I guess through this experience and through the experience of just the mind shift that I've had in the last few months, and it's March now, and it's only been since like the end of October, beginning of November that I've started to think this way. I started off being very angry. And I think that was sort of a natural reaction to a feeling of having been duped. I didn't like the idea that I had been swindled by a set of ideas that were so flawed in so many ways. And I was disappointed in myself for not seeing through it, because I've done courses in propaganda. I love studying all of because when I was in film studies, film propaganda was what I studied the most. whether it was Soviet montage and the anniversary year for the Russian Revolution, or World War II propaganda from the Allies versus Nazi Germany versus the Soviet Union, or even during the Cold War, the sci-fi Red Scare. So the communist sort of propaganda, like not even communist propaganda, the anti-communist propaganda that was peddled through Hollywood, and how they used Martians as a metaphor for spies, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1956 version. I think it's 56. It's in the 50s somewhere. But then they also made a remake after the fall of the Berlin Wall, which was perfect timing, to be honest. And the theme was great. And then all of the technological advances that happened made for a really dynamic film. And the ideas behind these movies are the us versus them, the othering, values that are held in one country being ranked supreme. But the great thing about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, at least the one after the Berlin Wall, is that the Body Snatchers, they seem to win. Maybe that's going to be the case now. I mean, I keep seeing a lot of our discussions sort of revolve around the United States in the Anglophone section of my course, just because the Anglophone population, or the English population of Canada, is dominated by US media. The English population of Canada, not so much the French, is dominated by US media. So out of, let's say, 30 programs that are the top 30 programs that are watched primetime TV in Canada, only 4 of those programs would be Canadian-based, which would be Hockey Night in Canada, some Murdoch Mysteries thing, CTV News, and I can't remember the 4th one. Anyways, 4 out of 30 are Canadian programs. The rest of them are American, and Hockey Night in Canada, which is probably the second most popular, is only like 12th on that list. Or, yeah, 12th on that list. And CTV News is like, I don't know, 10th or something. But the top, I would say like maybe 11th. And then the top 10 would be something like Big Bang Theory and all those American programs and whatnot that people like to watch. I don't watch TV, so I don't really know a whole lot about what is popular. I did watch Big Bang Theory when it started, not so much now. But in French Canada, 100% of the programming that is the most popular is Quebec programming or French programming from Canada, because the French population is not immersed in US culture. So having these classes and having discussions about that, and most of the people on the course, I would say most of the staff on the course, they swear by CNN, which every time they mention CNN, I kind of have a cringe moment. Like, oh, I don't know, man. That's kind of like watching Fox for me. I mean, Fox can be entertaining, and you know, I do enjoy when they have interviews on there, and you know, sometimes I like Tucker Carlson. I think he's funny, and I think that as satire more so than news, a lot of the time Fox is probably one of the best out there. But CNN is a different beast. It's a different beast because it presents itself as entertaining. It's almost like CNN uses its status from the past as like beer goggles for its audience. So people think CNN as a brand, and then they see this beautiful woman. But if you take off the goggles, all that's there is a dog. And I don't mean a dog in the cute sense because, you know, National Puppy Day, but I mean like a dog-faced woman. Like, that's pretty much how I feel about CNN. So that's probably sexist. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. I think that like being a woman, it's like really impossible for me to actually say anything that could be construed as sexist. Just misguided. Most people think misguided or that I'm joking. Um, yeah, even in class today, I used the word gay. Um, I said, well, someone got kicked off the course, so I said, super gay. And there was a lesbian on the course that was like, what? And I was like, I said it was super gay. I had to double down. I had to. I mean, if I start backing off on what I'm saying, then it just makes me look weak. So I doubled down, and then I said, I hope you're not offended later on, just because I was like, doubled down, and then I spelt it Ghey, and I made a whole joke of it. Everybody seemed okay with it, but you know, maybe I'm not meant for this life. Anyhow, that's me for today. I'm not sure what day it is. Maybe it's day 33. Maybe it's day 34. All I know is that the 29th is the last day of Lent. And maybe I counted some days wrong at some point because I was sick and I missed a bunch of days because I was busy. And I apologize for that. Not that there's a whole lot of people watching. In any case, have a good one.